Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games. Welcome back to another episode of A Bit of Board Games. This is episode 82. I'm prepared today. And it is November 15th, 2023. I can't believe that it's halfway through November already. What? How'd that happen? I don't know. Anyway, I'm Steven, your host, and with me today is Ralph, art director, game designer, officially game designer now. Because, you're probably officially before.
Oh, yeah.
But we did last week
the live stream.
The live stream, the game design challenge. The Moonlighter as a board game. And I thought it went really well. Let's talk about that first. Let's do a little recap on that. How do you think it went? What are some positives, some negatives?
I was surprised. I thought it was going to be a total cluster. But it ended up being pretty good. We actually were able to.
I had a plan in place. Come on.
You did. The structure helped. I just thought that it would be very difficult to actually answer some of these questions, but through talking about it, we sort of were able to talk through and come up with at least somewhat solid ideas. So that I thought it went pretty well, actually.
I would play the board game we came up with.
Yeah, I'd definitely try it out. It was cool. If you were there to catch it, great. But yeah, definitely worth a listen if you haven't heard that yet. But it was a lot of fun, anyways. So
yeah, it was a really fun process to detail out the process and everything too. I think it's just a good framework that I wrote out just to break down what the game is, convert it, or break down the video game and all of its design elements, figure out what the core aspects of those elements are, figure out what of those elements give the game its main experience, and then rebuild the game as a board game, using those as reference, being like, hey, these are the core experiences, these are the core mechanics that we need to include. So as we built out the board game, there were a lot of nuances that we did not include because it didn't make sense, such as the different styles of combat. In the board game version, doesn't make sense to have different styles of combat. Or just some nuanced things like that. But there's a lot of core pieces of the game that we could convert pretty well to make a fun experience and to get that core experience. If you were to play this game that we thought of, hopefully you'd get that same feeling of Moonlighter, where you're dungeon diving, getting stuff, getting loot, fighting things, coming back, selling stuff, and then expanding your shop to be able to sell more stuff, to be able to dive more, to get further and make progress. I think we did a pretty good job of doing that.
I think so. And one thing we didn't talk about is, obviously it's implied that we would do your best to emulate the style of the artwork, the visual style of the game, which would definitely help tie it in. Because Moonlighter has very striking visuals. It's got great pixel art style that I do like quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we would definitely plug that in as well. But yeah, we did leave out some stuff. Although over the course of talking through it, I think so many things came to surface. Just constantly reminded, oh yeah, there was this mechanic, or oh yeah, we completely just skipped over this essential thing of the game. Yeah, and so while we were talking about it, we kind of had curveballs coming at us.
Oh my gosh,
we were remembering stuff.
We never even thought about the inventory, and then
the what is it called, the shopkeeper's notebook or something.
Yeah, the pricing side of things, and
yeah.
There are some things that it just took just brainstorming to figure all that out. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was less fun to edit that into a
Oh,
podcast.
right.
'Cause I think the
And it
recording
was
was like
long.
it was like two and a half hours.
Yeah, talking, well, and that was a deter, not just in editing, but like while we were doing it, it's like after a while,
Just getting tired. Yeah.
you run out of steam a little bit trying to just constantly brainstorm for 2 hours. So, I mean, I think if we were for the next one, I think one thing maybe would just be to keep the pace moving towards the beginning, because I think towards the beginning, like you were asking me questions and I was going already into the details.
Right.
That would be something probably to avoid, right? Because we would just keep it really broad and then,
Yeah.
hone it in.
There was a point where I'm like, yeah, we're getting too detailed. Like, let's back up, come up with like the core pieces, and
Yeah.
then because we're like, as we started, we were like, I don't know, how would you do this as a board game? Then we're like, wait, we're not there yet. Like that's why we set up this process, so it wasn't just kind of a rambling on about
Right.
what we were thinking about in that particular moment. So, which was good. Again, yeah, like having that structure kept us on track. And I've got some ideas to turn that into an even more consolidated thing, like a YouTube video, like a 6 to 8 minute thing, just kind of a summary of what we did with maybe even some visuals on screen as to rough idea of what it would look like as a board game. So
Nice.
yeah, I think it's a cool thing, and I'm excited to hopefully try it again. There's one caveat though. If we do those again, I think we do it separate from a podcast episode, so that
Yeah.
I
So
don't
you
have
don't have
to
to edit so much.
edit an
Yeah.
hour and a half of content out.
I think that's fine. Yeah. I mean,
It'll just be like a
it's
random,
extra content.
yeah, it'll be a random side thing that I think we could still live stream because it could be fun for people to interact and join in on that, but just use it as a separate thing. Yeah. So we'll figure that out. I think we do. Let's do it. You know, try to do like one every month or something. Is that seem reasonable?
Yeah, either one every month, or we could, if
One
that
every day.
feels like too much. That feels like too much. We could do one every 2 months, every other month, something like
Sure.
that. I mean, I think actually maybe we base it off of how quickly you can edit together your, the condensed version you were just talking about.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Here's the thing. If we had a backlog of design sessions that we do, design challenges, then I can just edit them, and whenever I do it, finally release this series of videos, we could then release like one a month. So if we do enough design sessions sooner, then I have all the content and I just need to script and film some stuff out. So I'm almost, what if we just have random times every other week or something just to do like a design session? Maybe that's too ambitious, but I think at least one a month would be good. And then when we get them polished and ready to release, then we could release, one a month or something. And we could just call it like a limited, well, I don't know, it's a limited series, but the thing is I don't want to do it and then not like have a couple come out and then not do any for like a really long time. So I would want to.
Well, there's no shortage of ideas. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if we need to do, like, if we do one and it's pretty good. I mean, there's so many things you can convert to board games. There's so many different video games that
we have
I want to talk about.
Oh, nice.
There really are. I mean, I have to stop myself from veering off into like just talking about a video game.
So we're making a Starfield one next, right?
Yeah.
Our favorite game. No, we're not talking about it again, guys. Come on, jeez.
Make a board that keeps on folding out and then has nothing in it, nothing occupying any space at all, and
oh man.
And every time you make a move, you have to walk into another room, close the door, turn the light off, and stand for 30 seconds
Count to 30, open the door, go back in, and then now you can take your turn.
and then yeah, exactly, yeah, for the
Okay,
loading
okay,
screen.
we're not doing this again. Okay, we're moving on. Anyway, some YouTube content ideas I think would be really fun. So that's you'll have to add your games to the list on Airtable because I've got a running thing on Airtable.
And I also want to say something that I think would be fine is even if someone doesn't have, like, one of us doesn't have the experience of the game necessarily as much as the other person, I think that's okay. Like, let's say you wanted to do I don't know, like
Pokemon,
something, and I'm like, oh, I don't really know about that, and then but
you don't know what Pokemon is?
all I would have, well, this is just an example.
Okay.
Like, I could then look up that Pokemon game that you're talking about, find any review, right? Like a comprehensive review of some kind. There will be one, like almost guaranteed. There always is, and just kind of absorb it as much as possible, and then like we just get into it. It doesn't really matter how experienced we are.
We know how games work. And you can get the gist of it through a summary, through a comprehensive review.
Yeah, and as long as one of us kind of knows the gist of the game, I think that's probably okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we can like take turns or whatever with who gets to pick which game, or it can be mostly you, and then every once in a while I can pick one if you don't have one. It doesn't matter. But like, yeah, I think that could work.
Here's another idea too, like. They don't all have to be games. What if we did like movies? Because then it's just turning like an IP into a board game.
It's a good idea. I don't think you know what kind of movies I like to watch though.
I don't think we should do movies. I take it back. I take it back.
The board game.
No movie references.
I know some pretty accessible movies as well. I don't only watch weird, like, obscure.
The thing with, like, if we did movies or TV shows or books even or anything like that, that's much more. Those are stories told. Whereas like a game has like things that the game is built around and how it feels. I think it'd almost be harder to do. Okay, so like for example, Harry Potter. There's like 12 different board games. Harry Potter board games. There's one that's like a deck building combat game. You play as a character and you go through the different years of the school. You know, there's Harry Potter themed games, like there's a Harry Potter Monopoly, things like that too. But with like, there's at least like 5 or 6 like very unique just Harry Potter games that are just those games. Lord of the Rings, there's like a Lord of the Rings card game. There's a huge expansive adventure game that I have over there.
Yeah, the thing is though, it's like the reason there's so many games made based off of those things is because, like, I mean, it's just like, what is Lord of the Rings? Well, it's a fantasy medieval style, like Anglo-Saxon medieval fantasy world, and there's so many things you can do. That you could do an RPG, you could do a conquest style game like Risk. We had Risk Lord of the Rings when I was younger. And then Harry Potter, you have built-in mechanics as well. You have the school, so there's like the progression of like going through school year after year. There's all the houses, so you already have like classes in a sense, and like evil and good factions, and you know, it's almost like all that stuff is built in to those worlds. I think that's why there's so many. You could say the same thing about Star Wars. Space adventure. I mean, it just the game makes itself, you know. It's different than something like let's make Cat in the Hat, the board game, right? Or something that is more just like story driven. Cat in the Hat's a bad example, but I'm thinking like Gone Girl or some random just like book that is mostly narrative and drama driven. Those would be the really hard ones, because it's like they don't really have built-in mechanics. They're just stories that take place in our world, you know. Um, but maybe a fun challenge. It depends on the story. I guess we'd have to pick a book and see, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess yeah.
Or a movie. I mean, movie as well.
In a sense, we could just take that world. So like, what we've been doing with like Foundry, the idea came just from a world I started building, and like even one of our other games that we'll be doing in the future is from like this world design that you have, and it's like this idea and this idea of a story that we're then like, how do we turn this into a game? It's the same thing. We just have a fully existing world and story in place. So it's just like, what aspect of this could we turn into a game? Do we turn a game into a game that follows this story, or is it like some sub aspect like this made me think, so Lord of the Rings, thinking of different video games for it.
Yeah.
There was the critically acclaimed Gollum video game
Oh.
that it just tanked. Then recently there's another one that came
Oh.
out that was Return to Moria, and I was so excited about it, and then I just looked up reviews and it got like a 4 out of 10 on IGN.
You
And
know the
I'm so
problem.
disappointed.
The problem is whatever that guy's name is. Who what is it, like Christopher Tolkien or some whoever had the
Mhm.
whoever was gatekeeping the IP of Lord of the Rings died, and then
Oh,
essentially like the family decided, okay, you know what, we're just going to cash in and whore this franchise out, and that's what they've been doing. There's been
oh
zero
man.
quality checks. That's why we ended up with crap like the Rings of Power. Gollum
Okay, I
is
really
another
enjoyed Rings of
example.
Power,
Okay,
and
well, we
I understand people's the gripes with it. I just took it as like, I thought the visuals were great. I thought the setting was beautiful. Um, some story things, yeah, maybe not amazing, but I'm like, I was just excited to be more in the world of Lord of the Rings. I just want to be more in Middle Earth, and like, I was just living it, just experiencing it in the moment. So I enjoyed it.
well, yeah, and that's hey, all right, no problem. But I mean,
I
I'm just
understand what you're
saying, like,
saying for sure. Yeah,
that's
for sure.
basically why we're getting a little bit lesser quality stuff, is because
Yeah,
there's no one there to protect it. They're just like in it for the money now, and anyone can have a piece, and it doesn't matter what the quality level is.
yeah.
And there you go. You know, I
But
mean,
if we were
occasionally
to
you'll
do
still
it,
get decent stuff. Like I think Shadow of Mordor or like that
mm-hmm.
series. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, I
It's
played
actually
those.
okay. It's not the worst thing, but
That was
that
pretty
all
cool.
happened, I think, before. That's kind of an older
That was a while
series,
ago.
anyways.
Moria.
But anyways, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. So that's if we did films and stuff. Let's get
Right.
off that tangent. Um, so we did a little bit of prep work, not prep work, the business discussion. What did we just do before this podcast?
Yeah, a little bit of a
A touch base. We touched a little
yep.
board game touch base. Touch. That's a weird touch base. Why is that a word? It's a single word.
We're going to touch base.
We
It's
touched.
like corporate speak for,
I hate
hey, where
corporate
you
speak.
at?
Yeah, let's just have like a little touch base meeting just so we can check in on you.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a little powwow before this to kind of like get our heads around where we're at with everything, and made some progress. Kind of planned out our goals for the rest of the year, what we're gonna finish up, and Ralph is making headway on the styling for the icon set, for the updated icons.
Yes.
So those are gonna be sick. Um, excuse me, jeez. I Before we even started talking, I went through all my notes from the last couple of play tests to get my head around like the last things we wanted to change, and then I went into our spreadsheet and started adjusting some of the updates for cards and everything. So that was a little bit of progress, and then when we talked, we kind of again mapped out. So essentially what we're going to try to accomplish, Ralph's going to finish up the icon set because then we can get it into Tabletop Simulator with updated icons to just those will just improve the quality of life a lot. Then once we have the updated icon set, we had this. We've talked about this before. The whole CMYK color space
Yeah.
process issue that we're encountering because we're like, oh shoot, for print ready files, it can't be RGB, it needs to be CMYK. So we were kind of dreading this, mainly Ralph, because he was the one working on it. Because he can't just like straight up just change the file type to be like, oh, it's CMYK, and now I can just keep working on it, because it needs to flatten the entire image. So in Photoshop, he's got all these layers of all his different sections of the card, the different effects on all the different sections, the coloring, the shading, everything. And so if he were to flatten it to CMYK, then it's all just one, it's just like an image. It's just like one flat photo of what he worked on before. And then that's not good if we ever need to make a change. So anyway, he was like worried about this whole process of everything. And then literally right before this call, we're like, let's just Google this. Like there's gotta be something that we can do. And so I think we figured out a good solution, which is to take the files that were created in RGB format, color mode, space, color, what would you call it?
Color RGB space? Color space, or I think color space is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So create an RGB color space, and then save a copy of the file, convert the copy to CMYK, and then use that to print and everything. So essentially we still have an editable file. It's just like one small extra step to export each time that we need to make adjustments. But then you had another good point as well about using stuff digitally.
Maybe, yeah, like I think maybe some of this has been overthinking, like just like wanting to make sure it's right. And obviously I knew that you can like convert
right
when flattened, and of course we could work off of a copy and everything, but it's like I didn't know, depending on the printer and the printer specifications, it can get really technical if you let it and you really read into everything. But I think we ran some test prints and they actually turned out okay. There's two files for it. Okay, so for those of you listening, Steven's holding up two different printouts that he printed. One of them is RGB, one of them is CMYK, and you really, I mean, of course on camera we get worse quality, but still I can't tell. It's like nearly impossible to tell which is which.
And it was on my home printer, which maybe like is meant for just kind of all-purpose printing in a sense, but the exported files that we did, I don't know. I think it was fine.
Yeah. The only worry I have left really is that on the cards they have a sort of vibrant crystal element.
Yeah.
Some of them, like this gleaming magic element of the cards, and I am a little bit worried to see how dull it gets, or if it does get dull when we convert it to CMYK. I'm kind of worried about like that. I don't want that to happen. So that's the only worry. But otherwise, I mean, kind of thinking through this, and if there's anybody, the hilarious thing is, I do this for a living, and I'm still like, just not. I just really hate CMYK crap, and most of the stuff I work in professionally is all digital anyway, so I almost never have to worry about this stuff. But like, if there's anyone out there who knows, like, if we're overthinking or whatever, please let us know. I mean, but like the way I see it, the way I see it is I see a ton of stuff from products or companies or whatever all the time that are created, and they need to be multi-purpose. They need to exist online on like digital promotions or boosts or boosted ads or something like that. But also they're going to be printed in like an art book somewhere or a magazine or something like that. So it's like, this has to be simpler than we're making it. This can't be like impossible. We created this stuff in RGB, yes, but like people do that all the time, and then they use it for like multiple things. So I cannot accept that these artists are like creating this elaborate concept art, and then it's gonna be on the video game and everything. But then for the art book, they have to go and actually redraw the entire thing in CMYK. That just can't be the case. There's no way. It has to be easier than we're making it. So
So okay, here's another note that I'm really stupid. I've had to do a lot of stuff recently for work of taking client files, like print, like brochures and random other things, and prep the files to be print ready. And so I have to add in like the crop marks and make sure it's got bleed for stuff, and make sure it's CMYK. um, so I've been doing that, and I don't know why I didn't connect the dots of like I've literally been doing this work recently. And side
okay.
note, I'm fairly new, so I don't know a ton about it. But like, there's certain things like someone designed a file, and in InDesign, and like you can look at there's a swatches color swatch tab, and you can see colors that have the CMYK values or says RGB values, and essentially you can go into the RGB value and like select it and have it change to a similar, like change it to an equivalent CMYK color for that
Is this only
specific color.
for vector though?
No, it was in InDesign. I don't know. It might have just been doing that for basic shape layers.
InDesign works with both. Like you can do raster
Maybe
or vector. Depends.
probably was vector stuff. Then you're right. Um. Anyway, but with that, I work with people that have done this for years, so I should just ask them and me as well.
Yeah, I guess yeah, good idea. I think maybe ask them, be like, hey, we created this like card design. I mean, even if you wanted to, I guess if depending on who it is, you could like show them and be like, look, we created this. It's
Yeah.
RGB, and we need to print these cards. So like,
What's
how
the
screwed are we?
yeah?
What is it?
What's the
What do we
simplest
do?
process? Yeah.
Yeah, what's the best like we could the simplest thing is to just do exactly what we are saying. Like just flatten it, convert it to CMYK. But is that actually what's the best quality
Yeah. Is
for
that
the least
accomplishing what we
amount
actually
of
want?
yeah, for the least amount of like nightmare style work that we'd have to do
Yeah.
recreating it from scratch. Like I just can't there has to be a way, right? So
So
if we
go ahead.
yeah, keep well, I was just going to say like if there's just one person who has the experience who knows already because I've worked in CMYK, I've worked in RGB, but like converting and like doing a thing for like a multi-purpose,
Yeah.
like one piece that is going to be multi-purpose across like digital, print, whatever else. Like
Right.
I've always created stuff from scratch to already be CMYK or RGB. I've
Okay.
never done like, I don't know.
So another thing I just thought of, there's one of the clients we work with, they have some products, and they have some product renderings of their products. And so it's like the box, the packaging, and then like the item sitting next to it. And so they have a full rendering of that item. And they have two versions. So they have an RGB and a CMYK export of all of these versions. And so when we're doing print ads, we pull the duplicated version, like the exact same thing, pull the CMYK version over for print material. Or if I'm doing like a banner ad for like a digital thing, I pull the RGB one in. So at some point, someone created that and then made a duplicate and just used the CMYK or the RGB. And so we just have
So it
those.
might be exactly what we just did then,
Yeah.
maybe.
And so what we could do is like with our file, we could export out a version of the asset that's RGB for online like digital stuff, and then same exact thing for the print ones. We create the CMYK version.
Yeah.
But
Maybe.
yeah, I'll pick some people's brands at work as well. But I don't think
Sure.
I don't think we're screwed. Essentially, is the is the thing. So
Good. That's good.
yeah, cool. And just
Yeah, don't tell anyone how much of a like hack fraud I am in my
Just for fun, if
Yeah,
you're on
there's
video, here's the other item I printed. And I did not really mean to use an entire sheet of paper to print these all out.
yeah,
It's a lot of ink I just used for these, but
that is, yeah.
could look pretty cool back. Frame these up somewhere. I don't know.
There's an edit that's going to happen to that one too, actually.
Ooh,
I'm going to change the symbol from a skull to something more in-universe appropriate.
because we might use the
Yeah.
skull for corruption too, as well in the future.
Oh, that might be a good idea. A little, yeah, skull.
What's what I
That
had?
could be a good icon. Yeah.
Yeah. So keep the icon. Keep that one handy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've started, it's like I said, I started working on the icons. I think I've got a decent style going. I think it will work, but obviously once I create the icons, I'll have to plug them into the card and see how they look, how they mesh.
Yeah.
But I think they'll work out.
Nice. Okay, back to our timeline of events for the rest of the year. Once Ralph has icons, and also probably before then, I'm going to work on editing, like I said, updating stuff, and then I want to get a new version on Tabletop Simulator. I want to playtest at least 2 more times before the end of the year on Tabletop Simulator. I don't think we'll do any more in-person tests this year because I don't want to print any more cards until we have the icons, because that would be a huge quality of life improvement. And also the current set of cards I have has some things that are just entirely wrong on the cards now. Like they just don't work the same way, or values are wrong. So I don't really want to play with that set, but I also don't want to print more until we have those icons, because that'll just be a big update that's worth reprinting. And while I'm reprinting those, I can throw on the finished items to the couple of cards that have them.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that'll be sweet.
That'd be great.
So yeah, I want to update Tabletop Simulator, get a couple more playtests in on that, which we should have just been doing, because honestly, Tabletop Simulator is so easy to update and just play a new version of the game. I know Jesse's been wanting to play it. I've got some other friends that want to play it too. So I've got no shortage of people interested in playtesting. If you are interested in playtesting, go to bitwafflegames.com and find a link to our Discord, and you can let us know in the chat that you want to playtest at some point, and then we'll add you to the list. And once we kind of do some more public playtesting, we'll maybe get a group of people in.
That's true. We could do a digital public playtest.
Oh yeah,
that could be fun.
Yeah. What else was I gonna do? Oh yeah, I was also gonna work on concepting out the rest of the basic items for the game. Because if I can hand Ralph at least some rough concepts, that takes off some of the legwork of just like, what is this item? How do I turn this item, bring it into being? Even if it changes, like it gives you at least a starting place for that and the vision of it. So,
well, the idea that I don't have to recreate the cards again,
yeah,
is already
Dude.
a huge, amazing. It's just like I feel so much better because
does it feel like Christmas has come early?
it does, because I mean I've already made these cards like 30 times.
Yeah. Let's be done with
because
them.
we went through a bunch of different iterations and then a bunch of different every time. So
Yeah.
to not have to do that again is a nice. It's
Yeah.
nice. As long as we're right. I think we're right that this will be okay.
I think so. We are right that we were stupid. So
I guess it must be overthinking.
dude,
again,
it's because we haven't done it. It's like, even if we've done print stuff before, this feels different because it's like cards and different components and a bunch of different stuff that we're like that we care more about maybe than like some brochure that we've did for work or whatever.
Actually, funny thing is, I was thinking while you were like talking through something else, and I was like, okay, I used to do POP for a company, and it was definitely printed, but I remember whenever I would export, I think I exported as RGB.
Oh man.
I'm pretty sure that's what I did. But it always looked great. I don't know. It just didn't matter.
Right.
But, I mean, it was just for pitch work. So, I mean, whatever. But
yeah. I do. Okay. So here, I do remember, I'll have to go back and look at the file. Because remember when I like made the cards and like you saw something of it, you're like, oh, they look super faded. Whenever I had like
Yeah, the preview window.
the preview, well, when I had like the
Oh, no, no,
entire
no.
layouts, yeah,
The cards in frick, what is it called?
InDesign.
Tabletop Simulator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was in Tabletop Simulator. That's when I noticed, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the opposite.
I guarantee it's just the way that it was exported. I
Yeah,
think you can export it as different color profiles, and
yeah.
if we just adjust the
hmm
way we export it, it'll fix that right away.
well, here's the thing. So I think I did those, and then I exported them. I don't remember when this took place. If I did the print cards before or after that, because then when I did the print cards, I think I might have just exported them as RGB, and then they printed out super dark, and like it was just
Okay.
like everything, like the purple cards, the advanced cards,
Yeah, they printed dark.
they printed super
But
dark.
online, they probably appeared really nice.
If I yeah, I maybe I did, I don't know if I checked them online. So like that's the thing. I need to go back and look at, see what files I exported for each of those. Um
Yeah. So for printing, we'll need to maybe like yeah, if we just straight print the RGB, that's probably where we're gonna get the muddy colors and just
yeah,
like
yeah.
it won't look right. But if we make the separate version that is CMYK, I think it'll fix a lot of that stuff for us. And I'm pretty sure what something that must have happened was when we did the when we did the tabletop simulator,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know this for sure, but maybe just the way it was exported was some kind of color profile that wasn't totally suited for online or something like that. Yeah, yeah, those are really dark. Yeah,
It's so like you can't even see the pattern in the background really. Like really
yeah,
on the video here, people. So like it made the icons look barely visible for a lot of stuff with the thin outlines, and then like
yep.
just like the contrast, like the green is bright. You can't really tell here. Um, the green is bright.
Well, that's kind of my main concern. I'm not really worried about dark colors or washed out stuff, like because
Well, okay,
I
like
think that will be the easy thing to change.
yeah, yeah. So like here's these two, which like they're the green and the purple.
Yeah, the purple one is pretty dark.
They're vibrant, but they're like super deep, and then like you don't get all the depth that you can see normally, like in the file that we had. So it just loses a lot of the detail. Things are just like it looks like it's like over contrasty or something.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
and that I'm pretty
Plus,
sure.
plus I'm seeing it through. So it's not only printed like
Yeah.
poorly RGB, not correct, but also I'm seeing it through a webcam.
Right.
So like,
Yeah. But it looks. I mean, what you're seeing, like it looks dull, more dull than what is in person here. Um, but
okay,
they're pretty. The color is pretty vibrant on the card from what I can see, but it's also like everything just feels just so dark.
yeah,
You don't get the detail.
yeah. Hopefully, the idea that we have will fix a lot of that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. I mean, yeah, this is all just like good stuff to
Again,
be thinking about.
first game, figuring it out, so that next time we can hopefully start off doing it the right way.
Yeah.
On our next game.
Or just at least starting off with a more secure, being more
right.
secure how we feel about like, oh, we're gonna be okay. Because like now it's like a lot of uncertainty, a lot of back and forth. Like, well, oh, what do we do?
We're like,
Whereas
it's not just creating all the things we need. It's like figuring out what we need to create and how we need to create it, and then we do it and hope and like debate on if we did it right or not. Whereas in the future, like going forward, we'll be like, we've done this. We know what aspects of these things we need to like change, and we know what pieces we need, what we need to do, anything like that. So this is, we've just learned a lot. Learned a lot, Ralph.
yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
That's why we called it Learntober. I did a
Learntober.
Learntober. and just the 2023, the year of learning. Sure. Anyway, um, yeah. So general other timeline stuff. Yeah, tabletop simulator, planning that out, and then we're gonna plan out what we're gonna do for the first quarter of 2024. So knock out some more art, figure out what we're gonna do with player board art design stuff. Maybe I'll even concept those out a little more, flesh out what those are gonna be. Um, yeah, I mean we're making progress. We're getting there. It's felt like a slow month and a half just from figuring out freaking process stuff. Um, yeah. Now it's hopefully we can just get jumping on content and
Yeah, it's
keep polishing up the
probably
game.
yeah, it probably feels bad because we actually did work kind of a lot, especially through October,
Yeah.
but then it's not like much. It feels like we worked a lot, but not much got done.
We don't have a lot to show for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is discouraging, but I mean,
But again, we built out the systems to make our work smoother in the future.
yeah. Yeah, it's not just for every piece thing that we do have to show, that's how much work we did. No, it's like getting to the place where we can show anything is
Yeah.
that's a lot of work figured out. So, but I think there will come a point where, especially with the items, where we'll hit a groove and things will be churned out much more quickly.
Yeah.
And then
sure.
it's really not that bad because like okay, after that, yeah, the icons will come together pretty quick. After and things can build off of that too, like the tokens, like certain things
the
that
tokens.
we will
I didn't
build.
think about that.
Yeah, because of having the icons ready, like we can do stuff like that. That'll be really fun and come together pretty quick. The icons just being a part of the card finally, and the player boards, that's going to be a big one, but that's just a one and done. You need the player board done, so
yeah,
you figure that out once and you are done. It's not like the cards where you figure it out and then you have to make like a million cards.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool with the player boards to have some unique elements, like keep the design the same, but maybe like some of the decorative pieces, we either like change some color accents or some patterns. Just people can like, oh, I want the blue board this time.
Oh, so each backpack is a little unique. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
I think
so what you're saying is no, actually it isn't one and done. It's
just 4 and done or 6 and done,
Yeah.
It'll okay. Essentially.
No, but that's a good idea. Yeah. I'm down with that. That's a good idea.
It'll be the same structure for each one. I just think some decorative pieces we could have fun with and make them interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. On that note, that's all the time we have for this week's episode of A Bit of Board Games. Thanks again for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast and enjoy hearing our lovely voices, go give us a positive rating on your listening platform of choice. We also are on YouTube. You can subscribe and follow there. I've been releasing some YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, from some of our highlights of podcast episodes, with a lot of insightful pieces from Ralph and a few from me, which then they've been fun.
He's been showing me those as they come out, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm not wise. Don't listen to me.
I think they're awesome. What did she think of them? Does she like them?
Oh, she loves them. Yeah, she thinks they're really cool. She's like, oh, I love seeing these pop up, and yeah. Nice. She thinks it's cool that you're putting those together.
Nice. I've got 6 more ready to go. So
wow, dang, dude.
Yeah.
Do you think that's responsible for some of the boost in like
100%?
We've had increased traffic
Yeah,
Really?
welcome any new listeners and viewers. Yeah,
Yes.
dude, like from last week's episode has like 50 plus views already in 1 week's time.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and you know how we hit our 5K downloads like a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
at like 5,600 now.
Oh,
uh,
that's insane.
we
I
we
don't
have
get it.
we have the same amount of downloads this month, which is we're only halfway through the month, as we got the entirety of October. So
Wow. All
yeah,
right.
so that's all thanks to you listeners and
Yep.
downloaders and viewers. Thanks for tuning into the pod. Uh, final note. Go to bitwafflegames.com to sign up for our monthly newsletter. We're sending out a monthly recap. You can also find a link to our Discord and socials to connect with us, chat, see stuff. So yeah, thanks again for being here, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right.
Did
See
I
ya.
just say y'all?
Oh.
Oh. Okay, let's just cut here. Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.